Hello fellow seamstress, welcome back to my channel. So today we'll be learning how to make this tube top. It's actually a very simple tutorial. And then to my returning viewers, thank you so much for riding with me. If this is your first time here, my name is Lillian. Please click the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you get notified anytime I post a new video. So guys, if this is what you're interested in, please continue watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and then if you have any question, please always ask. Thank you so much. Let's get into it. I've been needing about 1 yard of akara, wadding for padding, and then because of the material I'm using, I'm going to be using interfacing. So it's a matter of choice, it's optional. First thing first, from the top of your paper, you are going to come down by 2 inches as a guideline, then label it as your chest line. So from that point, you are going to place your tape at exact 6.5 inches, just as you can see now. And then from that point, mark down your bust point. So my bust point is 10. Just as you can see me do. So I'm marking 10 inches and then I'm going to create my bust point line and then label it as my bust point. So after doing that, I'm going to also place my tape at that 6.5 inches and then mark my under bust. So I'm using 13.5 as my under bust. So I'm going to go ahead and then mark it out and then label also. I'm also going to come down by 16 inches, which is my waistline or half length, whatever you call it. Then I'm going to also create my waistline. So this is it. And then after doing that, I'm going to come down by 9 inches, which is my waist to hip line. So whatever you use as your waist to hip line, go ahead and mark that out. Next point is to divide your nipple to nipple measurement by 2. So mine is 8 divided by 2, which is 4. So I'm going to go in by 4 inches. You can see me marking it on both my chest line, my bust point, and then on my hip line. So do the same thing and create a straight line. After doing that, we are going to tighten the chest line. So to the center front side, we are going to mark 1 inch, and then to the side front, we are going to mark 1.5 inches. So after doing that, go ahead, take your curve ruler, and then we are going to connect both points back to your bust point like so. So hope this is clear. So just connect both points to your bust point and then come over to your under bust. We're going to repeat the same thing. So after doing that, mark 1 inch to your center front and then 1 inch to your side front, and then connect to your bust point just as you can see me do. So after doing that, you're going to repeat the same thing on your hip line. So mark 1 inch to this side and then 1.5 inch to the other side, and then connect the whole point to your under bust. So after doing that, blend your under bust just as you can see me to try to make that point curvy so that it will not be too pointy. After doing that, come over to your chest line. We are going to divide your bust circumference by 4. So mine is 36 divided by 4, which is 9. So I'm going to go ahead and then mark my 9 inches, which is this. And then remember we added 1 inch here and then 1.5 inches. So you are also going to replace that. So replace it, that's 2.5 inch. And then come over to your waistline. You are going to divide your waist circumference by 4. Mine is 7 because I'm using 28 inches. So after marking that, we are also going to replace our dart intake, but instead of 2.5 inch, I'm going to replace just 1.5 inch because I want to take off 1/2 inch because I want to use it to cinch my waist. So it's actually optional. You can choose not to do it, and then I'm going to connect it to my chest line. So like I said, is optional. Guys, the next thing we are going to do on the hip line, we are going to divide your hip circumference by 4. So I'm using 40 inches divided by 4, which is 10. I already marked that. We are also going to replace our dart intake, which is 2.5 inch. And then after doing that, just go ahead and then connect it back to your waistline. So guys, the next thing you are going to do, you are going to come over to your bust point, whatever you use as your side dart, come down by that inches. So mine is 1.5 inch. I'm going to connect it straight to my bust point. So after doing that, I'm going to fold my side dart just as you can see me do the same thing. And then after folding, take your tracing wheel. You can see what I'm doing there. Just connect it straight so that we can actually create that space there for our bust. So just go ahead and connect whatever your tracing wheel is showing. So the next thing we are going to do is to take off 1/2 inch from the chest line. So you know this is a tube top and then it's not going to have sleeve. So we are actually doing this to tighten it up at the chest line. So just go ahead and then connect it like so. So just took out 1/2 inch there, and then you are going to come over to the center front, and then you are going to give it a sweetheart neckline. So at this point, it's actually your choice. You can do whatever you want, go down as many inches you want to. So I'm just going to give it a slight curve there. So after doing that, I'm going to come down from my waistline by 7 inches because this is the length I want for my top. So you can actually use whatever you want. So the length you want, go ahead and then corner by that inches. So by the side, I'm going to go up by 1.5 inches. Then I'm going to curve it in. So because I want to have that shape by the side. So if you also want it, you can do the same. After doing that, I'm going to go ahead and then add 1 inches allowance. So you can use 1.5 inches allowance. So at this point is whatever works for you actually. If you prefer 1 inch, use 1 inch. So after doing that, I'm going to go ahead and then connect the whole points together. And then at the down, I'm going to also add 0.5 inches allowance for my joining, so I can join it with the lining. So I'm going to go ahead now and cut out. So guys, this is it after cutting out. So what we are going to do is to close off our side dart. So after doing that, place the both pattern together, and then you are going to go up by 3 inches at this point, just like you are seeing me do the same thing to the other side. So guys, instead of this 3 inches, let's make it 3.5 inches. Remember, we are going to sew off 0.5 inch because we added it as our seam allowance. So just mark 3.5 inches instead of 3 inches. Then at the hem, you are going to go in by 1.5 inch on both points, just as you can see me do, and then connect it with your ruler. Okay, so just connect it carefully with your ruler like so, and then go ahead and then cut out. So this is it for both sides. At the end of the day, we are going to have something like this in between the side front and the center front. So just label out and then set it aside. So the next thing you're going to do is to get a fresh pattern paper, just as you can see, and then you're going to place both your side front and your center front on the fresh pattern paper. So place it. You can see what I'm doing. Do it to do the same thing. Make sure the waistline is aligning, and then you are just going to go ahead and then trace out like so on the waistline on both center front and side front. So use your curve ruler. We are going to also maintain this shape at the down. You can see what I'm doing. So do well to do the same thing. So after doing that, what we are going to do is to just try to make sure that everything is in place, and then you are going to maintain the same thing. Okay, so what we are doing at the top is actually to maintain the height. So just maintain the height and then make sure that the width is also the same thing. So just as you can see, I'm going to connect this to the top and then connect the other sides to the top also. So after doing that, I'm going to bring back the center front. So I'm going to also maintain the width of the center front. So you can see what I'm doing. So do the same thing and then connect it together. So we already have our side back and side front just like that. You don't need to draft any other pattern. So I'm trying to get the waistline. That was what I did there. So after doing that, I'm going to mark half inch on both sides. This is actually to create the waist dart at the back pattern. So that is exactly what I'm doing. And then what we are going to do now, you can see me labeling it that I'm going to shape in the back by going in by 0.5 inch. Then I'm going to connect it to the chest line and then also to my full length. So after doing that, I'm just trying to make my line visible at the down. Guys, at this point, I'm going to divide my across chest by 2. My cross chest is 14, which is divided by 2, and then I'm going to be left with 7 inches. So this is me trying to tighten my chest line. So this is actually optional, and then I added extra 1 inch. That is in total marked 8 inches. I divided my cross chest by 2, which is 7, and then I added 1 inch to make it 8. So this is optional. You can choose to use everything you have. So I just took off 1 inch. So in other words, I took off 1 inch. So hope this makes sense. So I'm going to come down at the back also by 1 inch to bring it down a bit so it won't be too high, as you can see. So this is it for the back pattern. So the dart that we added at the waistline, we need to replace that also. So go out by the side by 1 inch as a replacement for the dart we took on our waistline. So connect it to the top and then also bring it down. So after doing that, just go ahead and then cut out. So guys, the center back I felt like is actually a little bit too high, so you can see I'm trying to reduce it. So just the center back, make sure you don't take it to the side back. Remember, you need to be equal length with your side front. So I'm just going to go ahead now and then cut off my dart. So this is it for the back pattern. So guys, this is it for the whole pattern. So I'm going to mark the part that will have my zip and then mark the up and down so that it won't be confusing. So I'm going to cut out my center front. My center front is actually on fold. So So I kind of felt like the sweetheart neckline is actually not that deep, so I'm going to deepen it a bit. So you need to be careful at this point, except you purposely want to expose too much. You can see it's just little thing I just took off there. So I'm going to cut it out now, and then I'm going to go ahead and then add my allowance, 1/2 inches allowance around. So for this back pattern, it's also the same thing. Just add your half inch allowance at the side and then at the top, then go ahead and then cut out. So after cutting out, you're going to bring in your center back, and then you're also going to place your pattern on 4 to cut out to piece at the goal. Don't forget to add your 1 inch for your zipper allowance, and then add 1/2 inch by the side and then at the top, and then go ahead and then cut out. So this is it for the whole pattern. So the next thing you are going to do is to bring in your wadding. So first of all, your side front, you're going to connect, just as you can see me do, to your underbust. From that point, just connect it to your underbust like so. And then after doing that, what you're going to do is to bring in your center front. So I'm just taking off my pin, and then I'm going to go ahead and then trace it out from my underbust. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm trying to make sure that it's aligned with the side front, and then I'm just going to use my marker to trace it out. So you can see what I'm doing. I just trace it out on my wadding, and then I'm going to connect it at this point. So this is it. So what I'm going to do now is to take off 1/2 inch, because I don't want it to be the same length with my fabric. So that's why I'm taking off 1/2 inch at that point. So I'm going to be doubling this. I want it to be 2 because I want it to be full. So I'm just going to go ahead and then cut out the second piece. So this is it. You can see it now. So it's not the same length with my main fabric. So I'm going to iron this on it, and then I'm going to first of all add my interfacing before ironing it. So the second thing I'm going to do is to trace out the same thing on my side front. So you can see it. I'm also going to go ahead and then cut out. So this is it. I'm also going to have 2 pieces of this, and then I'm going to reduce it by 1/2 inch. So don't forget to take off 1/2 inch from it so that it won't be the same length. So you can see it. So guys, this is it for the whole pattern. So what I'm going to do now is to join. So I actually added my stay before adding my wadding because of the type of fabric I'm using. So I'm going to go ahead now and then join it right side facing the right side with my side front. So you can see what I'm doing. Make sure they are aligning, and then also come over to the down, make sure they are aligning, and then pin down. So I'm going to pin the other side of the side front to my center front also, so you can see what I'm doing. So what we are going to do now is to join by 1/2 inch, and then join on the other side by 1/2 inch. So don't forget to stop at the 3.5 inches that we actually left out at the down. Remember, we actually went up by 3.5 inches, so don't forget that part. You are going to stop at exact that point. So this is it. You are going to do the same thing to the lining. So I will do just that and bring it back. Guys, welcome back. So this is it. So I already joined, as you can see, and then iron now. Do it to iron it out very well. So you can see I did the same thing with the lining. I already also joined the lining. Don't forget to stop at your 3.5 inch. So set it aside and then bring in the back pattern. So I'm just going to take off my pin, and then you can see how I'm setting it. This is side back, this is the side back, and then I'm going to bring in my center back. And then what I'm going to do, don't forget to place your pattern on it so that you will not be confused. So what you're going to do is to mark the side that will have your zipper on both sides of the main piece so that you will not be confused. So after doing that, place it right side facing the right side, and then go ahead and then pin down. So that is exactly what I'm doing. So what we are going to do is to join by 1/2 inch on both sides. So hope this makes sense. So you are going to do the same thing with the lining. I will do just that, and then I'll bring it back. So guys, this is it. So I already joined, as you can see. So this is I joined and then iron out. So this is it for the lining. So what you're going to do, bring in your main piece, and then I have a strap of about 23 inches here, and then the width is actually 1.5 inch. So you can actually use 1 inch. It's a matter of choice. You are going to place the strap in between your center front and your side front. So you can see what I'm doing. I actually you see how I place it. So you are going to do the same thing so that it will actually sit well, so you don't have issue with it it when fitting it. So go ahead and then pin down. So just pin each of the points around. So make sure each seam of the lining is aligning with the main piece. Okay, do well to make sure that both points are aligning so that you won't have issue with it. So just go ahead and pin round. Then when you come over to the down, you can see what I'm doing. Make sure they are also aligning and then pin it. So after pinning down, at the top you are going to join by 1/2 inch. So at the side you are going to join by 0.1. Then at the down you can see how I am using my finger to show us how we are going to join it. So that is exactly what you're going to do. When you come over to the other side, stitch and then leave out a few inches at that point so that you can actually turn everything out from that point. So guys, this is it after joining. As you can see, so I already joined, and then this is the inside. So ignore that point. I mistakenly burnt my lining with iron when I was actually ironing it. So this is it. So I'm going to bring in my back piece. So as you can see, I'm just trying to remove my pin. I actually pinned them together before. So I already joined the other back piece round. So I'm going to set it as and then focus on the other back piece that we are going to be adding the strap. So you can see what I'm doing there. So what you're going to do is to take your strap. So you can see how I place it in between the center front seam. So at the end of the day, when we join it, it's going to be facing right side, facing the right side. So you are seeing it, okay, so that at the end of the day it will be on the other side. So I don't know if that makes sense. Hope this actually makes sense. So what you're going to do is to add your lining at the top of it. Make sure you take it to the side because we are going to stitch round. So guys, do it to pin this round. So when you come over to the center back, you are going to join by 0.1. At the down, join by 1/2 inch, and then at the top, join by 1/2 inch, and then by the side, join by 0.1. So when you come over to where your strap is, please first of all sew with loose stitch. So by the time you turn it to the right side, you place it across your shoulder. So if you are okay with how long or how short or whatever the length of the strap is, then you can go ahead and then stitch it with a very tight stitch. So hope that makes sense. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'll bring the whole piece back. This is for the whole piece. Don't forget, place it across your shoulder to be sure that you are okay with the length of the strap before you actually stitch with tight stitch at the point where you actually place your strap. So what we are going to do is to pin the side and the front together, sorry, the back and the front together, right side facing the right side. You're going to join by 1 inch, and then take the other back piece. You are also going to place it right side facing the right side, pin down, and then join by 1 inch. So guys, this is it for this pattern. So all you need to do is to sew and then add your zipper. So just add your zipper. This is it for this tutorial. So this is the end of this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. If you find this video helpful, please like, comment and share. Thank you so much. See you on my next video. Bye bye.